Hey there everybody, it's Mr. Lewis, and in this video I'm going to teach you how to do several things. First, we're going to attach all the parts that we made in the last video, the head, the neck, and the shoulders of our clay bust sculpture. And then in another part of the video, we're going to learn how to map out face parts and then build those sculpturally. So let's go ahead and get started. First up, we're going to attach all the pieces that we made in the last video. We're going to need some slip, scoring tools, maybe a modeling tool like a wooden knife and a fettling knife. I'm going to use my trusty fork as my scoring tool and make sure that the clay is nice and scratched up and scored before I add some slip and stick those two pieces together. I want my neck to be attached to the top of my shoulders really well to support the weight of the head. So I'm going to take the time to score, slip, and stick, and then I really want to make sure that that clay is integrated together and bonded. So I'm going to smooth the neck clay down to the shoulder clay. Once the neck is attached to the shoulders and smoothed out, then you're going to want to score and slip the head and neck together. Take your time with this, make sure that everything is integrated well and that you're using the 4 S's correctly. Once the head is stuck onto the neck, then I'm going to take some time and smooth the neck clay up the bottom of the head and making sure that everything looks like it's all one piece of clay. Alright, now that we've got our sculpture started, we are going to start to talk a little bit about facial features and how to align them proportionally and keep them somewhat symmetrical. So we're going to start off with a little bit of teaching here, just the structure of human faces. We're going to start off with a head shape, a neck shape, and some shoulder shapes. Then we're going to think about the T-zone, which is what we use when we're drawing faces. A line straight up and down through the middle of the face, and then a line that goes horizontally through the eyes. We're going to space our eyes out on that eye line so that they're proportional and symmetrical, and then we're going to start thinking about where the nose goes. It is about halfway down from the eye line to the chin, so start and measure and create that midpoint. That is the bottom of the nose. And then the bottom of the nose to the chin, about halfway down, is usually where we place the mouth. So once that looks pretty good, then we can use some of those measurements to indicate where the ears would be placed. Typically, if you draw a line straight back from your eyes and straight back from your nose, you can basically figure out where the top and bottom of your ear should be on both sides. Once they're relatively symmetrical, then you can start thinking about where the ears placed on the side of the head. So here is a side view of our clay bust sculpture, and then about halfway back from the front to the back of the skull is about where the ear should be placed. Alright, let's take what we learned in that drawing and apply it to the sculpture. We're going to use some sort of tool to map out those areas that we just drew out on the whiteboard. I've got my T-zone right there, that plus sign on the face, and now I'm going to try to mark where the nose would be. About halfway down from the eye line to the chin is a good spot for the nose, and then again from the nose line down to the chin about halfway down is a good spot for a mouth. We've got all that mapped out on the clay. Let's start sculpting. Before I add any clay for the nose and lips and eyebrows and eyes and ears and all those face parts, I'm going to do a little bit of modification to my sculpture because I want the eyes to have eye sockets so that the eyeballs look three-dimensional inside of an eye socket. And I'm also kind of pushing in different parts of the face to create the structure of the cheekbones. Okay, to make a simple nose, I start with a ball of clay and then pinch out the ball of clay until I've got a little cone. And then I'm going to tap part of that nose piece onto a workboard or the table to to flatten out both the bottom of the nose and the back of the nose. So I've got a little pyramidal form, and it should be able to project out sculpturally to create what looks like the bridge of a nose and the nostril area. Once the nose looks relatively in proportion, then I'm going to start thinking about the lips. Both upper and lower lip need to be rolled out into a small little tiny coil shape, and then I want to taper the edges so that you've got a point on both sides where it's thickest in the middle. That's going to be my upper lip. I'm going to do the same thing for the lower lip too. You'll notice that I'm not really scoring and slipping anything on yet. All I'm doing is trying to create the general forms of lips, noses, and eyebrows until I can adjust them and modify their shape and size to make sure that they look right. Eyebrows are very similar to lips. All they are is a coil that's been rolled out and tapered so that the ends of the coil are pointed and the middle is thicker. Once I get my eyebrows rolled out and stuck on there just to see what they look like, then I'll take some time to score and slip everything on and then blend the clay in. If all of your face parts look good and they're in size and proportion to everything else, then you can kind of peel them off and then add your scoring marks to the surface of your face and make sure that everything's got some slip and stuck on appropriately. I'm going to speed this up so you can kind of see it all in a little bit faster time. I'm also going to make sure that once I get everything stuck on with scoring and slip, that I take the time to smooth and blend the clay together, leaving those parts like eyebrows popping out slightly. My lips are going to get blended above and below the lip, and then the nose clay is going to get smoothed and blended back into the face, the structure of the skull. As we get all of our facial features scored, slipped, stuck, and smoothed on, try not to judge anything yet because, again, this is just the rough structure of everything we need for a face. When I'm ready, I can start thinking about how to construct some eyeballs. What I like to do for eyeballs is roll a ball of clay into a sphere that fits inside the eye socket, and then I'll take that ball of clay and slice it in two halves, making sure that the back side, the flat side of the halves, go into the eye sockets. That usually prevents the eyeballs from looking too big or puffy and popping out of the eye socket too much. If the eyeballs look like they're the right size, then I can score and slip and stick them in. Then I can start thinking about eyelids. Eyelids are basically the same thing as we did for the lips and eyebrows, a tapered coil, but I want to smash that coil slightly so it's a little flattened so that I can push it into the clay above and below my eyeball. The idea for an eyelid is that it sits on top of the surface of the eyeball and then gets blended up into the eye socket above the eyeball and then down underneath the eye socket with the lower eyelid. If I zoom in a little bit, you can see the process of smoothing and blending the eyelid clay up on the upper portion of the eyelid and down underneath the eyeball, right there. The goal is to make sure that the eyelid sits on top of the eyeball so we can see the different layers. this point, if you've got your facial features added sculpturally, like your nose, lips, eyebrows, and eyes, you can start thinking about modifying the surface of your face in order to create some of the creases and cheekbone structures. Maybe modifying the chin a little bit to make that look a little bit more realistic or exaggerated. When I'm ready to sculpt the ears, I like to take a ball of clay and roll it into a nice even sphere. Smash that sphere flat so it becomes a disc, and then I'm going to take my fettling knife and slice that disc in half to create two equal parts. Then I can take those ear shapes and modify them slightly to give them a little bit of curve like the lobes of an ear for a person. When I test what the ear looks like on the side of the face, I don't want to just stick my ear directly perpendicular onto the side of the head. That's not what ears look like. They're actually angled back towards the back of your head, a little bit like this. And then once I know that it's placed in the appropriate position and it's the appropriate size, then I can make sure I score and slip the side of the head and add my ear. I want the back of the ear to still be three-dimensionally popping off the surface of the skull. So all I'm going to do when I score and slip and stick is blend the front of the ear forward towards the nose so that it looks like it's all been a part of the same piece of clay the entire time. If you've attached one ear and it looks good, go ahead and take the time to follow the same steps on the other side of the face to attach your second ear. Try to place it in about the same location as you did the other one and make sure that it's relatively symmetrical. Thanks for watching the video on how to construct face parts and attach all the pieces of your bust together. You have the freedom to make this an amazing project, so I can't wait to see what you guys do beyond what I've taught you. Again, thanks for watching and have a lovely day.